over the evaluation of the superintendent. Our friends at WBIR.com doing a great job reporting this. Attorneys for the Knox County Board of Education and Superintendent Jim McIntyre are at odds over who calls the shots about how to conduct the evaluation for the school system's top leader. So the disagreement comes as a superintendent evaluation committee, which is comprised of BOE members, is meeting to develop a new process to evaluate McIntyre for the next year. Patty Bounds, who was on this show earlier, a few days ago, she was elected to the school board last year, last week, elected to the school board last year. She said she wanted to see the board implement a more rigorous and data-driven evaluation in order to more accurately measure the superintendent's progress. But a clause in his contract states that the board shall evaluate and assess McIntyre's work once a year, looking at job performance, student achievement, and his relationships with his staff, personnel, board members, and the community. It's an annual process mandated by Tennessee law. He also said the evaluation should be in writing, and it's mutually agreeable between the board and the superintendent. Okay. But apparently, the mutually agreeable clause means that McIntyre can reject an evaluation process he doesn't like. So Ms. Bounds consulted the board's attorney and county law director, Bud Armstrong. Earlier this month, Armstrong concluded that the clause is illegal, and it actually makes McIntyre a, quote, supermajority of one. In essence, he can veto his own evaluation process. Armstrong's opinion was that the effect of this contract clause is to grant a power to the superintendent to veto an evaluation plan developed and passed by the Board of Education. The superintendent has no such power granted to him by statute. State law, Armstrong says, gives the board sole authority to create and implement the superintendent's job performance evaluation. He emailed board members on Wednesday, McIntyre did, and said he has consulted his attorneys, Knoxville-based Lawrence Giordano and Marianne Stackhouse, who completely disagree with the law director's conclusions and, in fact, believe the opinion of the law director is incorrect under Tennessee law. So we have Lauren Hobson on the line. She keeps a close eye on things like this. Lauren, good morning. Welcome to the Rude Awakening.
Good morning. I try to keep a close eye on things. Yeah. Well, this is all interesting. I just think, he's quite upset about the fact that his evaluation process may not have to include him in it anymore. And I just think that's pretty ironic, being that teachers have basically no say whatsoever in their evaluation process. But he's insisting upon his, and I think it really speaks a lot, the fact that upon, kind of getting wind of this idea by Ms. Bounds to kind of dig a little further, he immediately went and consulted his attorneys.
Yeah.
And that's interesting as well, because, again, that's a privilege that he has supported the stripping of as far as teachers are concerned. He has supported the associations essentially losing most of their power to protect their teachers and their principals. Just 6 or 7 years ago, the majority of Knox County administrators, I would say, had ties to the Knox County Education Association. They were members.
Sure.
And in just the last 5 or 6 years, it's really hard to find one. And that keeps them from being able to support their teachers, because they know that they don't have any backup from the law department.
Yeah,
so
Miss Bounds actually said that the intention was always to include him in the process of what he felt like would be a fair way to evaluate him, but that by his going to his consult his attorneys about the whole matter was actually unexpected, and she told WBIR that she thinks that by him seeking his attorney's input, he's actually made it into a much bigger issue than it should be, and that kind of sounds like it is.
It just makes it crystal clear how much power he intends to have. It's one thing to be a part of your evaluation process and be able to suggest things or tweak things that you have your input on what you think is fair. But in a sense, he's given himself a supermajority of one, where if he doesn't agree with the process, he can say no. And the law director was pretty clear in his use of the term illegal, that clause in his contract is not legal. And for him to want to hold so strongly on that just makes me question, what's his motivation behind that?
Yeah, and something else that's kind of that's kind of complicated the whole matter too is apparently the final paragraph in Bud Armstrong's memo that he states, quote, is the opinion of this office that the employment contract that mandates that the superintendent must agree to the evaluation plan developed by the Board of Education is ultra vires, which is beyond one's legal power or authority, and therefore void and invalid ab initio, which is from the beginning. And they said that now raises the question whether Armstrong is actually intending to invalidate McIntyre's entire contract or just that mutually agreeable clause.
Well, and I know Ms. Carson has also brought up the point on several occasions when any of these policies have been questioned that, the board approved these and that the law director signed off on these things several years ago. And I think the situation with that is when you bring in a new superintendent, you're really not expecting things like that to be a problem.
Sure.
No one expected the things that have happened since he's been our superintendent. So I just think maybe it's a case of them not really paying attention. And the good thing is now we have some school board members who are paying attention. Mm-hmm. And if you'll notice, it is the new school board members that were elected just in the last year who are asking the tough questions and who are demanding answers. And the old guard school board members are not willing to do that. They support him at every turn. And, I guess maybe it's because they're embarrassed that they let this happen, and now it's causing a lot of problems. But the smartest thing they can do is to say, you know what, we made a mistake, and this probably isn't the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll be willing to do that. But.
Well, hopefully they will, and we're just going to start seeing this. I think we're just seeing the tip of this iceberg, and this is going to, I have a feeling this is going to become a very nasty little battle here. I just have that feeling. I don't know why, but I just have that feeling.
Well, if Mike Danila has anything to do with it, I'm sure that more things will surface because he's a pretty good investigative reporter.
Absolutely.
So I think you're right. But I got to get to school, so thanks for having me on, guys, and keep the discussion going.
Absolutely, Lauren. We appreciate it. Yeah, Lauren Hobson there. Would you hire somebody and say, okay, here's the thing. You're going to be evaluated once a year. Now, during your evaluation process, you're going to have the ability to tell us whether or not you like the evaluation process. But not only that, you can actually stop the evaluation process if you just really don't like it. And then we'll have to find another evaluation process. Because that's what's going on right now.
Yep.
We're going to evaluate you. Oh, I don't like it. Okay. We'll evaluate you this way. I don't like that either. Okay, how about we evaluate you this way? Nope. Don't like it. You can literally keep this, according to this clause, and according to what his attorney is saying, you can keep this going ad infinitum.
Mm-hmm.
You could keep it going until literally you are done with your whole contract and have never actually been evaluated because you didn't agree with any of the evaluation methods they'd come up with.
I don't like it.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. That's almost as if an employer stands there and gives an employee the ability to. They say, "Look, this is a network state. We hold the right to release you if we feel so. But we're going to give you the power that you have to go ahead and agree with us if we're going to fire you. All right, you've not done your job. You're fired. Nope, don't agree with it. Okay, well, we'll try it this way. We're not happy with your progress in your job. We're going to let you go. Nope, don't agree with it. Okay. We think that maybe you're not getting along well with the people you work with. We're going to have to go ahead and let you go. Nope, don't agree with it. Then they're eventually going to come back and go, all right, who put this stupid thing in here? Who told us we can go ahead and hire this guy and give him the right to say that we can do this only with his agreement? There's nothing wrong with including him into the evaluation process. You need to include him in the evaluation process. But you don't give him ultimate right to say, no, I don't like this process.
Mm-mm.
You word it in a way that says he can question how the process is done, He can ask for a reevaluation. He can ask for a reevaluation of the process. But don't suddenly give him the supermajority veto of one saying, no, I don't agree with this way. We're not doing it.
I know that one of the places I work, when I have an evaluation, they go through the evaluation, and if there's something in it I don't like, I can write out my grievance and turn it in, and they'll take a look at that. But I don't get to say, just skip the whole thing.
Toss this evaluation and evaluate me on a different scale.
Yeah, don't get to do that.
Yeah, I want you to ask me this, and then judge me on this right here. Everything else I don't agree with.